I've never said that. That is a lie.
Well,
that is a lie, and I think you should withdraw that statement. That is a lie.
You called me a liar.
Can we please make sure that both of you use parliamentary language, please? I won't have this degenerate.
Well, I will not have my name maligned by people making false statements about me. That is not true. We have to do better than this.
And just you wait to find out how better she is when she explodes all over the chair of Women and Equalities Committee, Caroline Noakes, with facts, evidence and common sense. But first, Labour MP Kate Osborne triggered our snowflake Kemi Badenoch when she highlighted reasons why the rhetoric you use have consequences.
Minister, I want to ask you about trans hate crime. The government's own statistics shows that hate crime against LGBTQ plus people has been rising for many years, and we all know that the level of hate crime recorded by the police represents only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to hate crimes committed against LGBTQ plus people. This year, we saw the first fall in the overall rate of hate crime for a decade, which of course is very welcome. But this wasn't the case for trans people, where police recorded a staggering 11% year-on-year increase on hate crimes targeting the trans community. And the Office for National Statistics' own report stated that transgender issues have been heavily discussed by politicians, the media and on social media over the last year, which may have led to an increase in these offences. So, Minister, your recent statements describing an epidemic, if that was indeed the word that you used.
Well, let's have a look then. I would say almost an epidemic of young gay children being told that they are trans and being put on a medical pathway for irreversible decisions, and they are regretting it. So yes, she did use the word epidemic.
Used of children being told that they were trans, and gender-affirming healthcare as a form of conversion therapy, risk contributing to driving this rising tide of hate. And you've said to us that you want to take the heat out of this debate. So will you, as the Minister of Equalities, take action to reduce the acute and rising risk to the trans community, instead of inflaming the situation at times, which I believe you have with some of the language that you've used?
I fundamentally disagree with what you have just said. And this is the point I'm making, that if you cannot make policy statements without people in Parliament even saying that they feel unsafe because they disagree.
Maybe they do.
You asked me the question. I would like to answer. I have not described all gender-affirming care as conversion practices. But if it is done, as it was done in the case of Kira Bell...
The thing is, for me, if this is an absolute epidemic, why is it you only cite one name? It's not really an epidemic then, is it?
Then it is. That is a fact. If someone is not transgender and you put them on a pathway and sterilise them, remove their sexual organs, what do you call that? What do you call that? I think it is wrong to ignore this. We cannot ignore it. And if people are talking about it, we need to be able to have that conversation in a way that takes the heat out of the debate. This is not something anyone has ever heard me say. This is not something that anyone has ever heard me say. One of the things that was really noticeable after I made that statement was how many people said, this is the first time that anyone has said this. How can that be causing a rise in hate crime? I'm really sorry, but I think what you have just said is part of the problem.
In other words, it's your fault for the rise in hate crimes against the trans community because you are criticising my rhetoric that is painting a bullseye on their backs. How bloody dare you, Kate Osborne?
Because we need to be able to have disagreement without turning it into, I feel unsafe, or this is triggering people. That is not our job as legislators. We should be able to have, people out there might do things on Twitter and whatever. As legislators, we should be the grown-ups in the room.
Remember all this nonsense about being able to say whatever the hell you like without delicate whittle snowflakes clutching at their pearls, getting triggered about hearing things they don't like to hear.
Now, you are right that the records are showing, or the reports are showing, that there is an increase in hate crime against transgender people. And I do think that is very strongly linked to a lot of predators exploiting rules that are made for trans people.
Yes, according to Kemi, these predators go to the trouble of life-changing decisions in the pursuit of following women into women's toilets.
To carry out activities that those rules should be nowhere near. We see it with men exposing themselves in bathrooms. We see it with people trying to access single-sex spaces, such as women's prisons, when they have been convicted for violence against women and their victims are being forced to refer to them with female pronouns. That is not right. That is not right. So we have to make sure that we can sweep all that away. And when we do, life will get better for transgender people.
In other words, in her world, when it comes to life getting better for transgender people, means that you just shut up, go away, because your issues do not matter. And the sooner you realise that, your life will get better, you know.
But also, if, going back to your comments about, your point about me using the word epidemic, I will say again, almost an epidemic, and I talked about where the evidence was coming from in the previous question, but I'm not going to shy away from this. We cannot create a chilling effect on politicians and clinicians or anyone else raising concerns. That is not what our job is.
Now, if you're watching this and you're a bit of a Kemi Badenoch fan, trigger warning, your delicate, brittle snowflake gets twiggered and goes all snowflake away with words she doesn't like to hear.
So you're saying that life will get better when we start being more careful with our language. You seem to not include yourself in that. You've made statements that contradict some of the best available evidence, including the government's own data. For instance, the LGBT survey that showed that there's no evidence of trans in a way the gay, but substantial evidence that trans people were at twice the risk of being exposed to conversion practices. And you've also made these statements using inflammatory language that likens children and young people coming out as trans to the spread of a disease.
I've never said that. That is a lie.
Well,
that is a lie, and I think you should withdraw that statement. That is a lie. You are lying. You are lying.
I'm not lying to you.
You are lying. I have never ever used the word disease, and I think this is exactly what I'm talking about. You are making statements in a select committee that are untrue.
You've just called me a liar.
Can I just remind the Minister that is unparliamentary
right.
language?
What she has said is not true. It's not true. And we have to use facts in this room. We can't just make stuff up. This is what I'm talking about.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. I just don't think that your facts necessarily...
When was that statement made? And where?
So this is the government's own data.
No. You said I
survey.
used the word disease. When?
I don't know. Did you?
Of course I didn't.
Well,
and so you don't even know where that came from. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from?
I'm not here to answer your questions.
Because you don't know. Because you don't know. It is not true. And you should not be saying that in this committee when you don't know where that statement came from.
I'm not calling you a liar. You called me a liar.
Can we please make sure that both of you use parliamentary language, please? I won't have this degenerate.
Well, I will not have my name maligned by people making false statements about me. That is not true. We have to do better than this.
I absolutely agree with you, Minister. We have to do better than this. You yourself used the word explosion in response to an earlier question about the numbers of young trans people, and then didn't
the number of
produce
referrals to gender identity clinics.
But you haven't provided the data to back that up.
I'm sure we have that data because we know that I'm sure we have that data.
Can you provide the committee with the data?
I'm sure we can. I'm sure that we can provide that data to the committee. I don't have it to hand, but I didn't. You asked me a question and I answered it. I can provide backup data.
And you used the word explosion without the data to back it up. So, Mr. Bell, perhaps you would provide us with the data that will evidence that.
Oh, a delicate little brittle snowflake of a rose petal not liking what she's hearing. Also, what's the betting that the information Caroline Noakes is asking for doesn't materialise? Also, if she got her head out of her own arse and stopped dreaming about her leadership challenge, she would have heard that Kate Osborne didn't say she used the word disease. What she did say was this.
And you've also made these statements using inflammatory language that likens children and young people coming out as trans to the spread of a disease.
Yes, liken children and young people coming out as trans to the spread of a disease. So I typed in disease into thesaurus.com and, oh, look what's there. Yes, epidemic. I also typed in epidemic meaning, and it said a widespread occurrence of an infectious... Oh, look, what does that word say? So you see, Kemi Badenoch, if you'd have stopped for a moment and stopped gushing over your leadership bid and stopped viewing anyone who picks you up on your very little, if any, evidence-based rhetoric as a combatant, you'd have realised that Kate Osborne never accused you of saying the word disease. But what do you expect from delicate, brittle, little snowflakey little rose petals like Kemi Badenoch? But what do you guys think? Let me know down below, and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.